So I've pulled away the airbrush setup because it's like 20 degrees outside. With this window open, it'll just get frigid in here. So I also had some stuff show up today, which is good. I got a mech. I got a mech. And I got another mech. These guys are going into the army. Have a lot of vehicles. Vehicles need repairing. Mech Boy Workshop. Feel like I should have some mechs. And strangely enough, with the point changes recently, I still have more points lying around. So I do have to figure out what the heck else I want to toss in this army. Pull this thing up. It's still up for debate, and I don't think I'm going to be ordering anything before I move. But I'm going to trust the app. Look for my army called Ride and Die. I added 3 mechs. I'm still only going to stick with 2 units of commandos. What the hell else did I throw in here? I might add some tank busters. Hey, what's up, Stoneless? Anywho, I got some building to do. I might pull out the chrome paint a little bit later. And do some more work on the Morkanaut if I get that far. Right now, these guys are pretty simple, but those require labor to put them together. I'll put together my 3 mechs. Here, get my snips, I got my glue, X-Acto, got some twigs. We get down to it. Is this how you actually open these correctly? Have I never noticed this? I'm supposed to just pull this? Definitely not. That doesn't do anything. How you doing, Stoneless? Like, endless conquest of more stuff. This room is just laden with empty boxes, nearly empty sprues. It's a hot mess. Tomorrow is the day I foretold that allegedly I would start packing to move. Means I have a lot ahead of me. And I've been procrastinating quite well. So we'll see. But I am going to start packing up a lot of this stuff. Maybe not in here tomorrow, but elsewhere in the house. Got some hot tea. And I got 3 mechs. Let's hop to it. Let's see what the light is. Yeah, it's pretty good. Scooch that way. Scooch that way. There we go. Now I can see this. The other reason I got these 3 guys, other than just a purely pragmatic, maybe I should have someone fix my vehicles, is that I can sort of take my time with these guys, not rush them. Still do them as a batch, because it makes sense to sort of rotate around and do the same step on multiple things. I don't have to go fast, per se. They are characters. I can also have any one of these guys actually lead my one mech gun. My bubble chucker. The temptation is there to just pick up a couple more. But at that point, then these guys aren't out in the front. Fixing my bigger stuff. It gives me some flexibility options in terms of how I want to run this army. Stands. I can choose to have any number of these guys go up with the front, any number of them stay behind with my precious fortifications. Got a lot of mobility options. Oh, it's up there. I do have an amazing amount of repair. This army. And with 3 mechs running around. It's up to 9 moves? Presuming I put them in the right place. Would be smart. Pop up my other screen here. Let's see. Ork Business. Yeah, so each one of these dudes can heal D3 lost wounds every turn at the end of my movement phase, which is kind of nice. And that vehicle also gets plus to its hit roll. I didn't even read that part. That's nice. I mean, these are good to have running around. They also count, I think, yeah, they're lone operatives. Once within 3 inches of a friendly vehicle. Also helpful. And my Mech Boy workshop. See how this flies. At the end of your movement phase, each friendly Orc's vehicle model within 12 inches of this fortification can regain up into a D3. If I pile things up the right way, if I put my workshop in a spot, it stays within 12 inches of a lot of stuff, not the least of which is my boss bucket, which also counts as a vehicle, strangely enough. I get a lot of healing going on. Machine healing. Happy-go-lucky Ork mech music. That'll pass. It's okay. Music vacillates a lot. It's all like, I'll call it stock, but sounds like video game music that was cheaply licensed 15 years ago. It serves though. That's going to be a pain too. Anytime you have a screw connection on one of these like cabley wiry things, it's just precarious work. Clean it up, it's going to wobble all over the place. Safer than Mortarian though. Is a captain, precarious collector of wobbly parts. Seeing this guy up. leave like that. That's just going to be flat on the base. Yeah, this one. This is the piece. Super gentle sanding here. That's good enough for rock and roll. This guy's actually got decent weaponry on him, if I remember correct. In fact, I don't need to. I can just look it up again. I wonder if it's the same on here as it still is on the package. Mech. Mech. Here we go. Well, since he's created, he got an inch of movement, 6-inch movement, so not crazy. Way better than my Death Guard. 5 toughness. This guy's gotten actually better since he came out. Custom Mega Slugga. I mean, it's only 12-inch range, but strength 8, AP 2, D6 damage. Gets a D3 shots with it. Then gets a kill saw. It's 1 attack, 4 weapon skill, 12 strength, 3 AP, 2 damage. So like, obviously he's not a threat, but defend himself a little bit. Oh, and I get to decide whether or not it's the kill saw or the wrench. What's the wrench do? 3 attacks, 4 strength, AP 0. Yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening. Sorry, buddy. Kill saw's the only way to go. Maybe I'll put a wrench on one of these guys on principle, just so it looks different. Everything doesn't have to be optimal. I'll just save the wrenches for a later date. A bunch of open portals with wrench arms hanging out of it. Stomp out when I kit bash that boy. That look kind of dumb. I just might do it. The old backpack. There we go. Sit up straight. Sip tea. Why don't ye? piece. Really do hope these guys fit together well. It's like when you grab 3 of something, that first model, I hope this was designed well. Looks like it is, though. In my juvenile novice opinion, you know, when I see flat connections for arms with a nubbin that sticks out of it, that's always a good sign. See a lot of surface area on those edges, that's generally a good sign. Normally I wouldn't care too much about what's on the bottom side of a foot, but this one is actually sticking up. Is it up? Actually, that part's down. The heel's up. Alright, the heel is. Alright, so set the wrench aside. Body. Nice, clean. A wee bit of a squeeze. It's flat on flat because I get to aim it where I want to go, so I will save that for last. Does this fit on here solid? It does. Hey, what's up, Florida man? How the heck are you doing tonight? The big question is, do you still rule? Which I have no doubt you still do. Doing chores. You're a good egg. Decidedly not doing chores. my chore days are coming very, very soon. Alright, so I gotta get both of those to connect. That's not too bad. A little finagling, but not a ton. Dot on there, a little dot on there, bigger dot on the arm itself. Slap it all together. Gentle pressure. Extra little dab around it. Arm looks like it's in the right place, which is good. This just needs a little touch of pressure to get it closer. Yep, now the arm's starting to get wiggly. Yep, I'm just gonna hold this for a bit. I love how so many orcs are just like this weird nodule neck thing to get their heads to stick out straight. Really quite funny looking before their heads are put on. Wife expects me to sweep the floors. It's a good expectation. I think that's fair. Can't really argue with that. So one of these can go down. I can have one of these guys. His arm way up. This guy will be like ready to swing. Yeah, that's cool. I did, in the process, just find a thing that I need to sand, though. It is good to do chores. That said, like, I actually do a lot of chores during the day. Sneak out of my office to, like, refill my tea or use the bathroom or God knows whatever. Always something to be done. This guy's got his hacksaw raised up. Can do a different pose for each guy. I am gonna just straight up base these dudes. I think. Yeah, I will. I don't think I want to do any shenanigans with these bases. Do some nice, simple, clean work with them. This guy back. Just rest there while I crack open another one. Open a cold one with the boys. Oh yeah, no doubt. Big old custom gun. Big old hacksaw. You can opt in to use the wrench. The wrench just isn't as crazy as the hacksaw or the circular saw. And then back of him got all of his weird equipment going. Very cool model. It's like, it's a simple build. There's a lot of fun stuff on his paint. He's got all this geared out. I mean, obviously he's just like covered in mechanical crap. Chains, gears, whatever the heck this business back here is. Power kit. Very cool dude. Test if this camera focus is alright. Got a really cool face too, and he's got the helmet for it. The face has quite a bit of detail on it. Lots of like individual teeth instead of just sort of like semi-molded fish-like teeth. That's all this face. A little too much. But pretty darn cool model. I don't know. I actually don't have straight up boys, but a little shorter and stubbier than that Commando boss, but bigger than. No, he's almost identical size to like a straight up Commando. I think Commando's probably boy sized. His head's a little bigger. Pretty on par. It's like almost exactly the same height. He's probably boy sized. Unless boys are significantly smaller than Commandos. Can you believe it? I got no boys. Was tempted to pick some up. Just worry that I want to keep this thing as thematically sound as possible. Not veer away too much. And then I also got to like, where am I going to put all these freaking vehicles? This place is going to be a zoo. Yeah, it does sound crazy. I mean, I started from, I already had a theme in mind. I didn't start by like, man, orcs are my thing, I better get some boys. But like, pretty much on par with like a Death Guard guy who has no Plague Marines, but I do have Plague Marines. I got plenty of those. But I started this army with a theme and a dream. My footmen of choice were Commandos. I will at some point get some boys. I thought about getting some Gretchen just to like stuff them in my Morkanaut and Gorkanaut. Just like pile them all in. Still a possibility I'll do that. Just like pile out a bunch of chaff wherever that thing stops. So good. Just mob objective control. Or just have them spill out as I ride forward. Like, I spent a long time today just looking at freaking planes, bomb jets, I said from the start, like, I'm not doing any flyers, I'm not doing any trucks, I'm not doing any squig, snagga, whatever. I'm doing vehicles, fortifications, and commandos. But, like, as of right now, penciled in, I have a unit of, what are they, Rocket Boys? What are they called? What are you guys called? Tank Busters. So I figure that's still in theme. Chrome Commandos and all of this vehicular business. Definitely not going to be an optimal army, I can tell you that much. There is an element of who let this guy in here with this army. I'm not sure I'm very proud of particularly, but it makes sense to me. Yeah, that would be true. Poxwalkers were, strangely enough, the first thing I did. I got the combat patrol. I still only got 30 of them. At some point, that number will have to go up on principle. I need to build a true horde at some point. But yeah, I'm not. I have some sins, but that ain't one of them. And I love my Poxwalkers. Sort of how I got my nerves out of my system was by painting 30 of the little guys. Quite a ride. It was a slog. A really big slog. And they're not like super detailed models, but I was genuinely just getting started. And like I painted 3 of them as a color test. And then after that, it was like, wow, you got 27 more. It's a good lesson though. It was an amazingly good teaching tool because there's 3 sculpts, or 3. There's 10 sculpts, you know, but 3 copies of each one. So you get to like try the same model a few times. Yeah. Delicious. Only 30. It's no big deal. It's a tiny number for those guys. But yeah, going through it, like you get the same swing at, you get 3 swings at each of 10 sculpts. Like Necron Warriors were kind of similar, even though they like had a lot of little micro differences to them. Enjoyed painting those guys because you got to try my paint scheme was pretty simplistic. But like there's a little bit of therapeutic goodness of doing the same thing a bunch of times. There's limits to that, obviously. We'll have a good one? Are you saying well have a good one? Adios. I love running poxwalkers. Well, hobbling poxwalkers down the field of battle. They're so slow. They're so slow. Painfully slow. A little bit of cleanup on this arm. A wee bit. Haha! Awesome. Hello! Yeah, that dude's alright. And Wa to you as well. We're doing 3 mechs. Triple mechs. I decided it was cold enough that I didn't want to run the airbrush tonight with the window open. Which meant I wasn't going to prime anything. I certainly have more chrome work to do on ye old Morkanaut, but I'm not going to run the airbrush. And these guys showed up today. Means I'm probably going to prime tomorrow when it warms up a little. It's like 18, 20 degrees out right now. That's just a little too much with the window several feet away from me and a fan blowing out it, so the other side just blows back in. And I also kind of just wasn't in the mood. Stuff up over on my other table. So tonight it is all good times with mechs and maybe a little bit of paint later. I mean, I have some of it, but I genuinely didn't even feel like doing priming tonight at all. Felt like building some little guys. I do have some gesso. Or gesso, I guess so. I don't actually know how it's pronounced. Yeah. Sometimes crap shows up on your doorstep and you're like, we'll build that. These guys are pretty darn cool. Alright, if we look at that guy, he's kind of looking down the barrel of the gun. This guy might be looking a little side-eye. maybe it sits on there the right way it's supposed to. Yeah, that'll be cool. It is darn cold. Like, we got all the snow yesterday, which is nice. I did manage to get my snowblower in a little bit of trouble. Took things a little bit longer. I ended up sucking up a piece of fabric into it. The whole thing seized up. And I had to be super careful to get the thing out. Detangling it. I actually know someone who pulled a jam out of a snowblower at one point, and it was like, had a bunch of flywheel sort of pressure in it. They actually reached their hand in and really screwed their hand up, like permanently doing it. So I was like, all right, I already know someone who's learned that lesson. I'm going to do this with all long tools. Super duper careful. As a result, stand there freezing my butt off quite a while. And then it got way colder. Today it just got frigid. Plastic sort of melt a little bit for a second. Just throw dirt on me, yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Donnie Darko, but plane engine literally falls out of the sky on him while he's lying in bed. Sometimes just trucking it through one day at a time is just pain. Interesting but weird movie. The third. This room looks like a bomb hit it. Just doomsday of having to clean is coming up soon. It's like empty Warhammer boxes, sprues with 2 or 3 things left on them, garbage cans filled to the top. Have to stop running and clean this place up soon. That is an extremely debilitating wound. That's literally how you go about hobbling people. Yeah, I will. Sprue with 2 or 3 things on them. I highly recommend Ziploc bags and markers marking what's in them, because that gets out of hand fast. Super fast. Like, the big double sprues, just get like 2-gallon Ziploc bag. Or you can cut them in half. Fit them into a gallon. But as disorganized as I am, that's one of the things that I set up very immediately, was like, where my extra bits go. also have like a couple stacks of those Ziploc bags that are good for like a single deck of Magic cards. Those are also really good. I just Sharpie those up with what's in them. Where all my Death Guard bits are. Extra Sisters bits from that Rhino tank, which is a lot. I didn't use all the bling that they gave me. Like, losing your mobility is just brutal. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I think as far as bits boxes go, like if you're really invested in an army, like I'm probably going to get a small box just for Death Guard parts because like I'm most invested in them long term. I can imagine wanting the most flexibility out of one of those armies, being like, what if I set up my Plague Marines different? I have an Android tablet. There's upper limits to how much you can like catch up on every television show you'd possibly want to watch and still be able to chill. I think tolerance for I don't know if this is true. I'm probably just pulling this out of my ass, but like I don't think I could sit and watch TV all day like I could when I was really young. But yeah, like keeping your extra bits decently organized because it adds up fast. Yeah, videos insanity settling. Yeah, for sure. I sat in McCarran Airport for like 12 hours at one point and just kept watching different episodes of the show Vikings, and it was just like after a while I just could not do it. Couldn't do it. Yeah, the thing I found with COVID is that like I just couldn't pay attention to anything for a long period of time. Like mentally, that COVID hit me pretty hard. Like the first time I had it, like I struggled. I had like COVID brain. It actually lasted for like a few months after. It was pretty scary, like legit scary. Um, but I found also during, I struggled to keep up with anything, and that made watching TV for me like kind of not cool. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I haven't actually talked to too many people about it, but like, it was pretty bad. I could still do relatively okay at my job. That wasn't too much of a problem. But I'd literally like do the old person thing of like be in the grocery store and totally like, I don't mean like lose track of the thing I was looking for. I mean like the whole list in my head gone, and like why am I in this aisle? Like that kind of like pretty scary stuff. It sucked. Ugh. Ugh. I didn't have any mental issues second time I got COVID. Yeah, that is no joke. The whole mortality reminder thing is grim business. Yeah, it was. I was very not pleased. Just put it that way. The only value I have as a worker, my ability to concentrate, and it was genuinely not cool. And I was scared just because like the little kids running around the house. Yeah. And I'm like, good lord, if I forget something with one of these kids, like, I'm never gonna forgive myself. But like, it wasn't consistent, it wasn't constant. But I would just wholesale, like, mid-act of doing something, lose the thread of just a normal thread of concentration on like extremely simple things. Like 30 feet away in the grocery store from like going to where the eggs are, stop, not realizing that I was walking towards getting the eggs out of that case right there. And I'd just be kind of stuck there, like pull my cart over, like look around, like really think hard about what the hell I was just walking towards. And it wasn't constant, like that's the thing, like it wasn't like, oh, like how the hell did you drive there? Like there would just be all these moments that would come up where like there were some meetings at work that I would have no idea why I was there, like briefly, midway through it, like mid conversation. And it wasn't like I was daydreaming, it was just like as if the video started up right there. But in a lot of cases, like for work stuff, because my job is primarily Zoom calls, like all you really have to do right there for a quick hey-oh is like turn your head a little bit, look at your calendar, look at what time it is, and be like, oh, that's right, and then pick the thread up again. For other stuff, like doing, I left so many parts of chores just like dangling. Yeah, it's just like the number of things that I got up to do while I was doing something else, got up, forgot, went back to wherever I was, and then sat down, and then realized I needed the thing still. Like simple crap, like I'm gonna get up and grab a Kleenex and blow my nose. By the time I get to anywhere near where the Kleenex are, don't remember that that's why I was there. Go back to what I was doing, sitting at my desk or watching TV or whatever, or just reading. Get there and be like, man, I really need to, oh, that's right. I got up to do that. And I just never did it. strangely didn't want to fit right for a second. Definitely buggy OS, for sure. Sure to send February 2020 master useless. N95 for only 50%. That's according to their people. Engineered. Weird. I mean, whether or not it was engineered in a lab, like, there's a million reasons for that. And, like, I presume most governments that can do engineer bioweapons and stuff like that, or even engineer stuff for research, and it gets out. Um, I don't believe any of the, like, you know, strange theories that, like, oh, this is supposed to take out these people because, like, A, it was pretty indiscriminate, and B, like, there are cheaper ways to do that. Like, we're already good at getting rid of the people that struggle the most with COVID. I mean, it was certainly very transmissible. That much is faux show. But, like, unless someone's intent was to engineer the global economy softening, which, frankly, disease isn't even, like, the right way to do that. Like, oh, you need another backup? In ST&T? You speaking in code now, Will? You You are speaking in codes that I should recognize. Oh, that guy looks dope. Frameworks? Is that like... Is that a new branding thing, or has that been around for a while? It looks like a cool model. Yes, it did. Like, Will, you're missing a semicolon. That does not compute. Yeah, you'll get a lot of good practice with that. Get some cloak work going, some scale mail, another dope sword. I'm actually going to pop this up on the other screen. I can zoom in further. Yeah, they should. I mean, it looks reasonably well detailed. Like, I wouldn't say that it is like Warhammer level of detail, but it's pretty nice. Their painting crew, though, is not as good as what you see on the Warhammer box. Not that I adore everything on a Warhammer box, but yeah. I'd buy endless monster minis that exactly match the rule. Yeah. It does seem like a missed opportunity for Wizards to just be like here's the thing for me. You can go to a Warhammer store. I'm actually shocked with how much more prevalent Dungeons and Dragons is that they don't have brick and mortar. Like you have this, it's because I'm about to start to foam at the mouth thinking about it. Even the dynamic is different. Like, yes, there's probably a singular Warhammer buddy who's into it more than the rest of them that pulls people along for the ride. But Dungeons and Dragons, you literally have the person who's like, I'm the dungeon master. Like, we're playing my game, doing this. Like, I'm doing all this prep work on the side. Absolutely would love to, like, paint up some awesome monsters. And, like, getting them to do that and getting, like, players to, like, paint their own minis for their characters. Like, it just seems like, yeah, can't really have them do it all. Like, I don't think Wizards should get into the paint business. But, like, it sure seems like a pretty easy sell to get someone who's as psyched about their campaign by all the extra stuff that Dungeon Masters do. To just like, hey, what if you had all your monsters painted up nice? And I know plenty of people do it, but I don't feel like Wizards really capitalizes on it. They do have a partnership with the Army Painter. Like the Army Painter has paint sets that come with a few D&D minis. They have a line of like the very first things that I got for the diorama. It was a Army Painter set that had a short stack of that styrofoam. The single cheapest heat cutter I've ever seen, which is like a 9-volt battery on the cheapest piece of plastic with a little piece of wire going across it. Which I have to tell you, for the money, the thing was cheap. But for the money, it actually did work. I very quickly replaced it, but I had to go back several times and be like, I didn't get ripped off because I paid almost nothing for this. Because a super entry level thing is actually kind of high. But like more and more people, here's the thing. During COVID, they were not ready for how much of a push they could have made on this. They could have gotten so many dungeon masters painfully hooked if they had already been up and running. Like, oh, okay, you're gonna play like over Zoom? Like, God, I wish I just had a few things that made this more special. Or, hey, you can't play as often. I mean, Warhammer was prolific during COVID. It was the big boost that got them to where they're at today now. You needed a hobby. You weren't going out. And it's not like all D&D people were like going out to the club. Yeah. Yep. And it's like, truth be told, a lot of the business model is the same between Dungeons and Dragons and, or at least similar, and Warhammer. You know, if you think about like a new edition coming out and for D&D, and then like the supporting books that are about the locales and the classes and monster manuals and stuff. You know, Warhammer has like the new edition and then the codex and then a whole bunch of extra crap. They need another vertical. Both franchises have struggled and been very hit or miss with their video game offerings. Like, honestly, Baldur's Gate 3 is primarily a hit because Wizards had almost nothing to do with it. Yeah. Yep. Like, just getting people on board. And I think, you know, I think they dipped their toe in with like I would guess that this Frameworks model is actually kill it from the screen because I'm still working. But I would guess that model is like contracted out to some other manufacturing group. Yeah. I mean, if you think about every opportunity for an important fight, for that like reveal that you do, and it's like, and then the mech comes out, and you're like, boom, drop it on the table, and it looks dope. There's a lot of value there. Like, I know whenever I run a D&D campaign next, like, some of this crap is coming out. Now, a lot of my Warhammer stuff is like grim dark future. Yeah, exactly. People's eyes go pow. But I do have some stuff that is like can definitely work. My orc stuff, almost certainly not. Most of my Death Guard stuff, not too well. Which leads me to believe I'll just run something a bit more modern next time I run something. My kid, my 12-year-old, you know, does D&D campaign. Well, she's out right now, but she did a D&D campaign through the library, like several of them. And at the end, they all got like goodie bags from the people running it. And it was a couple of minifigs, unpainted. So I painted them, and it was really fun and really cool. And then like, she'd go back to her group, be like, "Don't, it's my guy." Oh, don't you fall over, buddy. Don't you do it. Sit up straight. Mind your posture. Move it. Yeah, painting a PC is the jam. You spend all the time you want on it. Like, I think that onboarding of like every player paints their own mini, or whoever wants to, and then, you know, guilts everyone else into it because I have a cool painted mini. You know, that alongside the DM, like, I'm gonna paint a beholder, and it's gonna look really cool. Checking my mic levels here. I have to turn this thing way up right now. Well, hello. There we go. Now it's cooking. Maybe I don't have one of these out. All right. Find the old one and prime over it. It's probably sitting in my hood. And if you think about like the whole multi-sculpt thing, you know, you could get, you're like, I'm gonna play an Elven Ranger, but like, you know, having a couple different arm setups, a couple like multi-pose kind of kits, means with not a whole ton of options like swappable heads, but then you have all the color to work with, like cloak versus no cloak or whatever. Like you could do a very personalized version of your character. Like that one that you showed off, like if the arms were swappable and if they were savvy about how they made their stuff, which is a big ask, but if they were savvy about it, you know, helmets fitting different races easily, like, all right, maybe it's just understood that there's a box of helmets you get, and all you really have to do is, like, clip the ears off of whatever, and, like, the helmets will all fit. And, like, if the hair is always its own sort of, like, piece that goes on it, then it's, like, hair or helmet. It's, like, MMO character design. If you put the helmet on, the hair's off. In fact, you don't need to clip the ears off. Like, every skull has no hair on it, or no spikes on it, or no anything. It's like the face and the bald head, and then you just plop on, you know, the buzz cut with the ears on it or whatever, or you pop on a helmet. Good to go. That would be dope. I would have totally done that. That would have been my gateway into this in my youth. Yeah. Well, that would be a pretty cool job to have, to be in charge of that. Faux show. My ideas are free. And do the same thing for monsters. Like, send out the sprue. Give it options. You know, beholder eye stalks that are in different positions with different details on them. All that good stuff. And you know what? Charge an arm and a leg for it. Go for it. The thing is, if you can get up to that level of quality and customizability that is like in line with the rules, kind of only get through mass production. I'm not saying that there aren't amazing other options that are off-brand for like Warhammer stuff, but most of it isn't quite as good as Warhammer models, in my opinion. And you have to sort of build up to that level of quality, but institutionally, like, that's how you do it, is by coming out with more stuff. And you just have to make it flexible enough. Yeah, it just needs to be flexible enough to have value. And at that point, like, you can sell beginner sets of stuff. Like, if I can sell the, like, 3-pack of elves, it's like, you know, I'm trying to think about, like, how they get you in Warhammer. And for me, it was like, oh, Death Guard. I love the aesthetic. I love what they're about. So now I just buy a bunch of Death Guard stuff. If I was playing D&D, it would be like, I play elves all the time. So it's like, all right, I sell you the elf pack. It's like 30 or 40 bucks. But the sprue has the necessary stuff to make an elf rogue, elf ranger, elf wizard, and maybe like more than one of those variants based on what's in there. So now I'm building up my quote unquote pile of shame. But like for the value for the money, if I play elves a lot, probably gonna make good use of it. You know, for a dwarf, it's like, okay, you can pick a set of classes that dwarves, because the game's built that way. Like, you don't see that many dwarf rangers out there. But you see clerics, you see fighters, you see a couple other classes. Like, do that. Do the half-elf set, and it's like half-elf paladin, half-elf fighter, half-elf warlock. Like, this frameworks model that you have, I think, is like the baby step that says it can be done, but doesn't go far enough for it to actually be like a commercial threat. And if the design is pretty smart, then you get stuff for free. Like, here are, like, all the cloaks pretty much, like, always fit the same way. Once again, like, look at Lego. Like, yeah, it's super modular and it's more modular than this would ever be. But, like, if you have a spec for, like, what the connection points are on any given cloak, and the hoods for cloaks work with the heads in the same way, and the heads are always have, like, the same base, then you start selling the sprue that is, like, here is, you know, 20 cloaks, 20 hoods, 20 sets of, like, belt accessories that go with the cloaks. Maybe you bundle that with some paint, maybe you don't. But man, if you're really into this, now there's, like, kits to buy that make a lot of sense. I mean, and then long ago, your class was your race. Like, cleric was human, dwarf was fighter, wizard was elf, I think. Maybe? I'm not sure if that was the case, but like, super early D&D, it was like practically one and the same. Yeah, you think a toy company with probably a bigger manufacturing and distribution supply chain. I played a dwarf. Did it stop at level 5? Let's do a little math here. Yeah. So Hasbro is about roughly twice the size as Games Workshop in terms of market capitalization, which is hand wavy. But yeah, it's a little boggles the mind. Get on it, boys. Get on it. Put your brother out here just so I can case the joint. See how I painted him. They don't have to match perfectly, but they're going to match somewhat. I did chrome underneath his collar. But I would have totally gotten into painting in my very early teens. There was just a D&D kit. But I actually agree with Games Workshop that like the brick and mortar is a key part of the strategy. And if I had to guess, like, I don't think Hasbro wants to go that far. The fact that like the store is no longer a Games Workshop store, like you think about that branding, like the reason the company's called Games Workshop is because they were shops for games. They've outlived that name, but you know, there was one in every mall I ever went to, right next to KB Toy and Hobby, or reasonably close to each other. Maybe that's what Hasbro doesn't want to do, is get into the brick and mortar business at this point. But for me, like, when I went online and I looked up Warhammer near me, the benefit of calling it the Warhammer store, it's the first thing that showed up. And I was like, I might as well go to the source. When I went in, like, there was a shop that's like, all right, I'm going to get my Dungeon Master's Guide. Might want to get a Monsters Manual. Oh, by the way, like, the Dungeon Master's Guide has this mini campaign in it. And here are the bosses of each chapter. It is IP mashups, yep. In fact, there's some dope Warhammer stuff. I did hear that. It'll be interesting to see where that ends up landing. A lot at stake there. I could see them wanting to just, like, part ways with that whole franchise, though. Just sell it off for a good price, because, like, they have not had a good time with it in recent years, and, like, a little bit of separation cashing out. Like, sometimes you burn all of the cachet you have with something. It happens. Oh dear. Oh my god. It's happening. It's happening. What is up, folks? Thank you very much for the raid. Hopefully you properly shelled us on the way in. Now it's time to fix bayonets. Hey, what's up, Mondo? Thanks for the follow. It's good to see you, buddy. I am at present. We're describing why. We're trying to figure out why Dungeons and Dragons, Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast have not capitalized on the whole model painting thing at the right scale. Hey, what's up, Rykos? Yeah, sure, I'll do that. I'll just place brother number 2 down next to brother number 1. While I sip some tea, stretch a little bit. Me and Will are hatching ideas of, like, man, if I played D&D and I could go to a D&D store, branded, like a Warhammer store, out the gate, talk to someone who knows everything about Dungeons and Dragons, they give them my Dungeon Master's Guide, they're like, hey, you should pick up a monster manual. Oh, you want to try, like, you want to get a book for a decent campaign? Here, oh, by the way, like, here's a 3-model box set for, like, the bosses of each chapter of this campaign, and oh, here's the starter painting kit, like, getting people on board. Yeah, these guys are fun. Yeah, my golf rocker just fits right inside. I may leave him in there. He may just show up and then, like, as a joke when I get to the other end of the field with this thing. Oh, you're right. Move my camera around earlier. Scooch him up. Move all of my crap out of the way. They're brothers. You learned more about orcs. This is bad. Orcs are dope, man. Robot crash. Nah, it's just these two guys. This is my crew. I did, one invisible? That's kind of stealthy. Oh, you got me, friend. You got me. I picked up 3 mechs also. I'm tired and slow, as always. But yeah, this is the paint job for this guy. I'm chroming him up. I decided I didn't want to open my window up and prime any stuff because I cleaned off the gun for this guy because the paint didn't look anything like this. And I was like, ugh. I don't want to prime stuff. But I got 3 mechs in the mail because, man, I got a lot of vehicles and someone should repair them because I will get them absolutely blasted to bits. Played an orc in WoW. So I get with the lore a lot, but dude, orcs are dope. And speaking of like cross-company things, like most of WoW orcdom is like wholesale lifted from Games Workshop. A lot of Blizzard stuff is lifted. StarCraft, supposed to be a 40k game. Somebody profited well from that. It is hard to not like orcs. Even if you don't want to play them, there's like something a little bit special about them. Just look at that guy. He's just psyched to be in the band. Anything goes with these guys. Yep. So whispers say. Exactly. Like that kind of thing where, I mean, considering where Blizzard was at the time, like preceding Warcraft, like straight up Warcraft, they were a small console developer. They did Rock and Roll Racing. They did, was it Lost Vikings? Yep. StarCraft was supposed to, I mean, it's why there are Space Marines in it. It's why there are Tyranids, now the Zerg. The Protoss, I think we're still like in development as Eldari for a while, but like that's why you got the whole idea of a Space Marine, like in that same sort of like bulky armor. Yeah, Games Workshop pulled out. Whoops. It's like the curse of the Bambino. The Red Sox. It's just like early decision made. The Red Sox had Sandy Koufax, didn't they? It's like, well, guess those decisions matter. Back in the day, also. Just gotta move forward. I did like Rock and Roll Racing a lot. Now, was Mutant League Football supposed to be Blood Bowl in another case of like backing out? Go look that up. It's like another important part of history. I am very interested in video game company history because reasons. Boxes I did. Gotta make your deals go through. It's weird that they were like cagey about IP way back when. Apparently not for a while. Games Workshop is very strange. Like they're super protective of their IP. Most of their video games are like through Focus Interactive, most of them, not all of them. Like Games Workshop puts out a ton of like IP contracted out games, like heaps of them. It is like probably the most used IP out there at all. And a lot of those games suck. Like, I hate to say that because like human beings made them and do what I do, but a lot of those games weren't really good. Yeah. It's so weird. You'd think a company would be like that. I mean, yeah, they have a rich history, but that whole thinking 10 years in the past thing is a chronic problem. I mean, success builds a certain level of like laziness and hubris. Yeah, it is pretty interesting stuff. So you're starting your Ork army is what I'm hearing. Come on, JB. Just a few more boxes. You can finish the stuff you have now. And looking at it, yeah, the orcs be calling. They do have a rich history. So I will warn you, they ain't so good at shooting. I still haven't played these guys, but I know it's going to be like a cold shower when I get to the shooting phase. Most of the ammunition flies into the sky or into the dirt. That's just like the price you pay for having a good time. Kill Team Snipers never let me down. I've heard some of what is holding things back, manufacturing-wise, is that Nottingham can't handle having another factory on their grid. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. But, manufacturing doesn't need to be that localized anymore. Yeah, I got a lot of fond memories of WoW. It's amazing how much that game has affected so many people. I mean, even just like conversationally, the fact that like first date with my wife, we were talking about WoW is pretty telling. That is some of that 10 years ago thinking, like, just not necessary. And I'm not saying there aren't huge challenges as soon as you, like, spread out stuff, but, like, the global economy for a reason. They should have a factory in Brazil. All my Brazilian friends are like, can't really get Warhammer out here. And there are some very, very big Warhammer fans down there that desperately would get into it. Yeah, the wait time. So the wait time and the throughput have been like really squirrely lately. Like you kind of have to check on a day by day basis. Oh yeah, I know they'll never do it. I'm just pulling for my Brazilian friends. Like I've already promised people that like if I do visit Brazil and I'm anywhere near Sao Paulo, that like one of the suitcases I bring with me is just going to be full of Warhammer stuff. Just distribute it and buy some cheap clothes while I'm there to actually wear. Ash, you probably don't need to remember as long as you were like using the Blizzard Authenticator back in the day. Probably just like, probably just gonna ping you. But yeah, the wait time has been crazy, and having to go like to the site, like you go one day and like stuff's available, one day it's not. It's obviously very different whether or not it's listed as like if you're ordering through as if you're in England versus the US is different. That was 6 phones and 3 international moves ago. Yeah, I know. It was a little tongue in cheek. Yeah, I picked WoW back up a little bit, like I want to say like 8 or 9 months ago. Just briefly, I wanted to try the Dragonflight stuff, and it was being played in my house. Yeah, that part stinks with authenticators. It's like, well, here's the rigid security, and then all of a sudden your authenticator has issues, and you're like, oh, screwed. You have to be able to, Deadshot, you have to be able to set up a factory somewhere else and operate it. Like, I don't deny that, like, they probably need a massive amount of oversight. But, you know, it's been a couple decades. Give it a shot. Like, I'm not talking about, like, American exceptionalism. I'm just talking about people's ability to run a business. The fact that, like, it's kind of up in the air. Yeah, once bitten, thrice shy. But, like, the fact that it's kind of up in the air is whether or not I, as a human being, can get a model that is, like, current. That's a little weird because, like, I live near Boston and New York, which are like major from Europe import hubs. I live, I don't know, an hour's drive from probably 3 Warhammer stores. But the fact that it's still questionable if I can get my hands on something is like that just means the product. And I'm talking specifically about me who like buy crap on a whim, like ooh that looks neat. That there's a supply chain issue for that. And I'm not saying I'm special, I'm just like the person you should be able to sell stuff very fluidly. Is the 2-shift thing kind of a principle deal? Yeah. Like, I don't like the fact that I have ordered some shoddy, you know, redone models from the Ukraine because I couldn't get my hands on it. But I couldn't get Grot tanks. Like, couldn't do it. Well, I certainly appreciate not running a 3rd shift. I am an exceedingly pro-union human being. Still carrying my Teamsters card in my wallet. And I believe in workers' rights like crazy. But I also think people probably should have factories in the right places. I I mean, it does seem like they're kind of doomed if they can't operate an additional factory somewhere else in the world. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe what they've got is enough and they can. Yeah, like. The last thing you want is to not be able to scale. It's like a direct hindrance. And all they're doing is making, like, the argument for buying 3D printed stuff or buying a 3D printer even more valid. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, there are places in the US that you absolutely can put a plant factory in place. And especially for how much, the fact that they are not disposable goods, they're going to need to be shipped from anywhere. Like, you could put something in, like, the Atlanta area, and at least it would be next to, like, a massive airport hub. But there are plenty of, like, cities that are always vying for that. Cities that will give you massive benefits for putting a factory in. And you just need to be near shipping. At that point, like, I mean, if you're near Atlanta, maybe Chicago, Detroit, and several other places like North Carolina and stuff like that have emerging hubs. Shouldn't even say emerging. Yeah. Then at that point, you're talking about, like, you can just move your stuff pretty damn pronto. Robot Crash, you're not wrong, and I'm kind of been dumb about it. Yep, that's right. I need to just put it into my schedule and make the trip. I have not taken advantage of that, like, at all. Is it like the first of the month is when it pops off? First Saturday. All right. In fact, when I move in a couple weeks, knock on wood, that all goes through. I'll be precariously a lot closer to one of those shops. I can always try the first Sunday or first Monday. I mean, at worst, I go in there and I buy a couple pots of paint or another model that I know I'm going to paint someday. But yeah, I'm a little ashamed of myself for not taking advantage of the free model bit. That's kind of just dumb. Here, kneecap. One of these spots over this blue is definitely going to need a second coat. Gotta be a little careful. This thing still articulates and I don't want it to bump up and touch that kneecap while it's wet. Inside. Good move. Good consistency. Yeah, this is way harder with silhouette glued on. Like, I'm not doomed, but I got very excited when putting this model together, and I forgot that sub-assembly was kind of an important thing. I got back on the wagon, but maybe not soon enough. Anyhow, I really think Wizards of the Coast needs to get on this painting train a little bit more assertively. If I had to guess, there's a little bit of crossover between people that play D&D and people that play Warhammer. And you should take advantage of that. Chrome paint, you got to be really careful around spikes that you don't flick the brush. I've done in a few spots, not on this model, but on some of the commandos, and you find out later that you like flicked this super inky paint elsewhere on the guy, and then it's a pile of cleanup. Guy sit on his side for a few moments, gently. I'll let this business dry up a little bit before I flip this guy over, flip him for real. Hit the other side. I don't want to knock that thing up there. Like, I could stand him up, but the chance of this bumping up in that chrome is not a risk I'd like to take. like this model a lot. This mech, he's gonna be fun. Covered in bits, as one might expect. A lot of this is gonna be painfully chrome, but I got some stuff to think about. Got the cloth apron going. He's got a dope helmet with lots of detail on it. Just pack a little microscopic amount of punch. Right, that's hopefully safe. I hold it right. Should be good. It hit bolt accidentally. That's all. I'm gonna leave it. Place my hand as awkwardly as possible for this grip. Make sure I cramp up as quickly as possible. Turn myself around, square up a little bit, pay attention to my posture. That's very scrunchy. So tall now. I do think I'm pretty close. I've almost pulled the trigger. I do think I'm going to grab a small unit of tank busters. Potentially only because of, well, I mean, thematically it works. It's a very vehicle-heavy clan. They're obviously going to want some guys that are destroying and acquiring bits of other vehicles. The fact that one guy has like an anti-tank hammer, I think is so genuinely impressive that I may just have to get him for just that purpose. Like, I already love the Breacher Commando. He's just awesome looking. But a guy who runs up to tanks with a hammer. Pretty sweet. I wish they could all be fit that way. I would definitely do it. Just like, yep. All these guys run down tanks. To hold this guy and get the right angle. Maybe that's it. This is always going to be the problem in our leg. We found the angle. There you are. Can't hide from me. Did I get on the other one? I did a poor job on the other one. Clean that up in just a minute. That I got on the back, I got those. Swiftly running out of places I can safely grab this model. Good sign. Absolute underneath I didn't hit. Hit these bits. Too crazy here, underneath, but I do want to be consistent. Nice pop of chrome. Braids filled in. Obviously, I don't want it to bubble up. Holes. I'm giving this enough drying time where I can stand it up in a couple minutes. Finish what I'm hitting on top. excessively awkward, though. See into this guy. I hit these two gold plates. Hit them too. The gloss varnish finally showed up today, which means I may be having some varnish parties on stream sometime soon. Especially with me having to move all this crap. I had a varnish party January 1st. New Year's resolution to varnish a lot of my stuff, but lots happened since then. I got a whole bunch of models. Get through the whole set the first time I did it. Now I got a lot of chromey stuff, which really requires a gloss varnish on it. Some of this chrome is just straight up going to have to get redone. It's not too happy with being manhandled. I'm not known for my gentle touch. On these guns, so many angles. So I'll peek at my hand, make sure I'm not covered in chrome. Eesh. Oh, how I suffer for this art. First world problems. The next step I'm going to take, I'm comfortable sitting this guy down again, wash this brush, and I'm going to go over poor little driver. Just going to hit him with gray. He got some purple on him that is what it is. Him I should have covered up with some putty, but I failed to. I'll go over him with Mechanicum Standard Gray. That's Dawnstone. Standard. There we go. And I will add a dash of white to this so it's a little bit lighter. I'm just going to slap it on him. Little dabs of that. Because gray is going to be the base. All of the stuff that I do on that orc. I'll add a little bit of matte white to it. Just sort of stir it up real quick. See if it retains any of that grayness whatsoever. If it just turns into white, yeah, there we go. A little bit of water to it, thin it out. There we go. That was just struggling to mix. This light gray. Basically what it's going to allow me to do on that orc. His helmet's just going to get chrome, so I get granite, no biggie. Skin is going to get gut rip of flesh, and then some red sort of wash on it. You get a little bit of highlighting. He's got a little bit of clothing on him. That'll either do as like a whitish t-shirt or leathery something or other. You gotta be careful not to hit the sides of this thing. But that gray is going to be a much better starting point. Most of what he's going to get outside of chrome is going to be contrast paint. Having a decent starting point. It's light will be helpful. He does look like he's just wearing a sleeveless t-shirt. Cool dude. What did I hit? What did I hit? What did I hit? Can't tell. Can't tell. Must have been nothing important. And I'm being a little more thorough paint coverage on this than I was or will be with any of the like standalone figures. A, because I hit this guy with purple. Color shifty purple, and I don't want that to come through. But B, like, this guy's mostly hidden under these guns. Normally this would be going over black primer, and I'd want it to be sort of inconsistent because it's going to be skin and fabric. Right now we're just pretty much whitening out that purple. Yeah, I should have painted you before dropping you in, buddy. Inner 12-year-old came out to play and was very psyched to put this bad boy together. I'm lucky I restrained myself from starting with the arms attached at this rate. Bold move, friend. Bold move. Alright, so maybe a few exceptions to things I want to chrome over again. I think I'm in good shape. I think I'm going to hit these long pistons with just some black ink. Should have covered them. I didn't think about it. And I didn't go back and peek on this guy. But I avoided hitting him. This guy, I do think it looks better than being painted. So I'll at least darken him up with some black ink, and then we'll see how that fares. I may just have to dry brush them again. With some metallic stuff. But I'll have to wait and see how it dries. Stuff is, it's called Vanta Black, which I think is like a trademark name, so it should be as black as black gets. This modern era. And pretty dark in the past. Yeah, I should only have to dry brush over that later and make it basically like this metallic again. And this is definitely a good tool. The AK Black Ink. A lot of use for it. You'd think, because it's somewhat transparent, that I just want to like Abaddon black this thing. For some reason, the coverage, how it snakes its way into little spots you often can't hit with the brush. The tool, pretty nice. Don't grab the chrome, buddy. Keep almost going over that section. There we go. Very smooth and very, very black. Still, if you do it thin, got some transparency to it. It's not like a wash. Still have a lot more time to spend with inks. It's a neat toolboxy thing, and it's so, like, this Vanta Black is eerily light absorbing black. Good job, Vanta Black. Good job. Alright, well, I've successfully turned the color of that orc back to the original plastic it was. Funny how stuff like that works out. On that note, though, I think I am done for the evening. Tomorrow, I will prime up my mechs. Do a little bit more dry brushing on this. Prime up the other weapon that goes on here. And I gotta airbrush this head. And get to some more details like these guns. In fact, yeah, and I'm right on time. So anyway, more to do, but we're getting there. Piece by piece. And then pretty soon we'll have to base these guys, which will be a lot of fun. They're not gonna share a base, but their two bases are gonna sort of come together and form something. I feel like I need to buy some hobby barbed wire. Maybe I'll go look for that in a bit. But that is going to be it for the evening. As I said, I've been getting pretty wiped out from work. Been enjoying sleep very much. But we'll see you again sometime soon. So have a great night. Thanks for hanging out. Catch you later. Bye-bye.